My friends Ethan, Caleb, and I were in desperate need of a break. Life had been relentless, and we longed for something different. Something that would get us out of the noise and into the stillness of nature. So, we decided to head to a remote forest known for its eerie reputation. People spoke of strange occurrences, unexplained noises, and figures lurking in the shadows. But we scoffed at these tales. We were rational men, after all. My uncle had often joked about the same rumors when I was a child, and I had never once believed them. The road leading to the camping site was rugged, a narrow track barely wide enough for a single car, with no signs of life around. We were far from civilization. No cabins, no houses, no markers of any kind. Our phones lost signal long before we reached the spot. It felt as if the forest had been untouched by man for ages. I noticed this, and a knot formed in my stomach, but I kept my thoughts to myself. I didn't want to be the one who worried for nothing. We quickly set up camp. 2 tents, a campfire, a table we barely used, and settled into the eerie silence around us. The woods seemed peaceful, but it was too quiet. No birds, no animals, no rustling of leaves in the wind. Just silence. I tried to dismiss the feeling creeping into my chest, telling myself it was just a quiet place, nothing more. As the sun dipped below the trees, we sat around the fire, talking about old stories, future plans, and life in general. Caleb was in the middle of a joke about work when Ethan volunteered to get more wood. He grabbed the flashlight without hesitation and ventured into the dark woods. I watched him go, and it felt like a weight dropped in my chest. It wasn't fear, not exactly, but something didn't feel right. Time passed. A few minutes, then 10, then more. I called his name once, then again. The silence stretched out, and I felt my unease grow. Caleb laughed nervously. He's just messing with us. But I didn't laugh. I stood up, calling out for Ethan. The trees swallowed his flashlight beam, and it was like the forest was swallowing him too. We moved closer to the woods, calling out louder now. Nothing. No response. The forest had become suffocating, a living thing, pressing down on us. The weight of the silence was overwhelming. Then we heard something, a noise, deep in the woods. It was low, gurgling, as if someone was trying to speak but couldn't form words. We exchanged uneasy glances and began to move toward the sound. My heart hammered in my chest. Every step felt like it was leading me deeper into something I didn't want to find. And then we did. We found Ethan, but he wasn't the same. He was lying by a fallen tree, his clothes ripped to shreds, his skin battered and bruised. His face was swollen, but in a way that made it look unnatural, wrong. It took everything in me not to panic right there. He was breathing, but it was shallow and erratic. He couldn't focus on us when we spoke to him. His eyes were distant, like he was looking at something far away. With difficulty, we managed to get him back to camp, but every step was agony for him. The pain in his eyes was unbearable. Every time he stumbled, I felt a tightening in my chest. And still, the forest remained unnervingly quiet. Once we got him back to the fire, we wrapped him in a blanket, and the 3 of us sat in a strange, tense silence. The fire flickered weakly. Caleb looked nervously at the trees, but I didn't need to say anything. He could feel it too. The forest was alive, but not in any way we understood. Then from behind us came the noise again, slow, uneven, like something was moving carefully through the underbrush. A cold shiver ran down my spine. I looked at Caleb. He was staring at Ethan, who was still shaking uncontrollably on the ground. He looked at me, eyes wide with fear. I couldn't stay there, not with whatever was making that sound so close. I stood up, telling Caleb not to move. I grabbed the flashlight and ventured into the trees, my heart in my throat, my every step echoing in my ears. The darkness enveloped me, pressing in on all sides. I forced myself to move forward, despite every instinct telling me to run. And then, through the trees, I saw him. It was Ethan. But it wasn't. His face was clean, his clothes intact, no sign of injury. He stood there, perfectly still, staring at me with wide, terrified eyes. "Ethan," I called out, but my voice sounded too small in the vastness of the woods. He didn't answer right away. He looked confused. Then he started speaking, his words coming out in a rush, panicked. He said he had gotten lost, that something had been chasing him through the woods, something that didn't move right, something unnatural. He said he hid, running until he was sure it was gone. My heart skipped a beat. "We already found you, Ethan," I said. "You're hurt. You're at the camp." His face twisted in terror. "No, I'm right here. It's not me you found. That thing can copy shapes, voices." I froze, staring at him. His voice cracked with fear. He grabbed my arm, his grip weak, his hand trembling. He tried to move faster, but his legs gave out beneath him. He collapsed to the ground, breathing hard. I didn't wait. I pulled my arm away and ran. I ran back toward the camp, but my feet felt like they were dragging. The trees seemed to close in around me. When I reached the camp, everything was wrong. The blanket Ethan had been wrapped in was gone, discarded on the ground. The fire was nearly out. Caleb was on his knees, his hands digging into the dirt, crawling backward. And standing over him was Ethan. But not my Ethan. It looked like him, his face, his body, everything, but its movements were wrong. The joints of its limbs bent in impossible ways, its head tilted unnaturally, and its eyes were empty. Caleb screamed, but the sound was cut off as the creature, Ethan, lunged forward, grabbing him by the throat. It crushed him with ease, his legs kicking weakly in the air. I reacted on instinct, grabbing a nearby rock and throwing it at the creature. It hit its shoulder, but it didn't flinch. It simply turned its head, locking eyes with me. The air felt thick, like time itself had slowed. Caleb's body went limp. The creature released him, and then it turned toward me. I stumbled backward, but it was on me in an instant, its weight crushing me to the ground. Its face was inches from mine, wearing Ethan's features stretched grotesquely, its mouth opening wider than it should have. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. And then, through the trees, came the real Ethan's voice. "Caleb, run!" The creature paused, its head jerking toward the sound, its attention shifting. I didn't wait. I scrambled to my feet and ran, my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't look back until I was at the edge of the trees, where I found Ethan, the real one. We didn't talk as we ran to the car, as the forest seemed to watch us leave. The car started after what felt like an eternity, and I drove without looking back. Through the rearview mirror, I saw movement, slow and steady, watching us leave, watching us all leave. Caleb was never found. The authorities claimed he got lost. No one bothered to search long enough to find anything else. Ethan survived, but not without a price. He's not the same. He flinches at every sound. Sometimes in the middle of the night, he whispers to me, "I heard it. I heard it. I heard my own voice calling to me when I was hiding." And I know now, the thing in the woods, it's not done. It waits. It knows how to wait. But it won't get me. Not this time. I won't go back. When Arjun and Mira got off at Nandapur station, it was late at night. What village are we in? I don't see a single person here. Not even a shop, Mira whispered nervously. I've just been transferred here. What can I do? Arjun replied, scanning the empty platform. How do we get to the guest house from here? Mira asked. I think there's a rickshaw outside, Arjun said, pointing vaguely. And I heard the guest house is always beautifully kept. No one should have any problem there, Mira added, shivering slightly. Better hurry. The sky looks like it's going to pour, Arjun muttered. A man emerged from the shadows and quickly took the money they handed him before disappearing into the night. Arjun and Mira followed, entering the dimly lit guest house. Everyone's here. I've been expecting you, said the man. I'm Kiran, the cook. Come in, he added with a forced smile. They chatted briefly about Kiran's duties and the house. After gathering the information, Arjun and Mira headed to their rooms. The house was silent. No one else was around. Kiran Bhai, you're not staying overnight? Arjun asked. No, sir. I cook for guests and leave by 9 p.m., Kiran replied. How far is the market from here? Mira asked. Not too far. Just past your office, Kiran said.
I don't
I
think we
like
should go there.
shopping, especially fresh fish, Mira joked. Yes, you can buy some on your day off, but never bring anything from the cemetery, especially fish. There's a witch who lives there. She hates the smell of non-vegetarian food and loves chasing anyone who carries it. Kiran warned. Arjun remembered the rickshaw driver mentioning something similar, but he
Something is
dismissed
not
it as
right here.
village superstition. Days passed. Arjun settled into work, almost forgetting the warning. One evening, just as he was leaving the office, his phone rang. Arjun, Mira here, a voice said. Kiran's daughter-in-law went into labor. He couldn't cook, and there's nothing left at the guest house. No problem. I'll pick up everything from the market, Arjun replied. After shopping, he purchased a large rohu fish and hurried home, imagining Mira's delight. It's starting to rain. Walking all the way is going to soak everything. Better take the shortcut through the cemetery, he thought. Ignoring the warnings, Arjun took the deserted road near the cemetery. Strange, eerie silence surrounded him. Even the birds were absent. The fresh fish in his hands exuded a pungent smell. As he passed a massive banyan tree near the cemetery, blood dripped from the fish's mouth onto the wet ground. A black shadow swooped down, sucking the blood with a long, tattered tongue. Arjun froze, heart pounding, and dashed the rest of the way to the guest house. At the station earlier, only one rickshaw had been waiting. The driver guided them toward the guest house along a deserted path. "Where are you two headed?" the driver asked. "To the guest house," Arjun replied. "It's late and dark. The cemetery road is a shortcut, but no one takes it lightly. There's a witch there who follows anyone with meat," the driver warned, his eyes darting nervously. Arjun ignored the fear in his stomach. As they passed the cemetery, he caught sight of old graves, rows of stones, and the infamous banyan tree. A chilling laugh echoed through the air, and a cold gust of wind blew down from the cemetery. The driver increased speed. Soon, Arjun and Mira reached the gate of the guest house. Yet, a strange voice called from behind. Arjun shivered, feeling a cold breath brush against him. He didn't dare look back. They reached the house and slammed the door shut. But later that night, strange noises came from the kitchen. Mira, curious and terrified, stepped toward the sound. The kitchen was dark. The refrigerator door was ajar, and the sound of tearing food came from inside. Her eyes adjusted to see a figure hunched over the fish Arjun had bought. Its long black hair covered most of its face. Its skin was peeling, white cloth wrapped around its arms like snakeskin. "Who's there? How did you get in?" Mira demanded. No response. As she touched the figure, it turned, revealing a bloodied, horrifying face. Screaming, she ran. Arjun woke with a jolt to her scream. Rushing to the kitchen, he saw the unthinkable. A demon-like figure lunging at Mira, breaking her neck. Her scream pierced the night before silence returned, leaving Arjun paralyzed with terror. I never expected a single swipe to rearrange the bones of my life. At 23, I was barely holding things together. Part-time shifts at a late-night deli, lectures I sometimes slept through, rent that felt like a fist around my throat. My parents were a memory of arguments and silence. My sister had moved overseas. I had a tiny room above a bakery in Newtown and a roommate, Zoe, who flirted with danger like it was a hobby. When my roommate Zoe joked one night, "Just get a sugar daddy, Ivy. Half the girls I know already do." I laughed, but later, lying in bed scrolling through Tinder, I couldn't ignore how easy the idea sounded. I laughed then, the kind of laugh that never reached my eyes. Still, alone in bed, I scrolled through profiles until a message popped up from Victor Hawthorne. He was 50, he said, but the photos were of a man who might have aged on set. Tailored coats, a silver widow's peak, and eyes that were far too precise. His bio, collector of rare things, looking for a companion who understands beauty. His message appeared a heartbeat after I swiped yes. "Hello, Ivy. Your photo of an honesty I rarely see. Would you allow me to show you dinner?" He wrote like someone who expected the world to fall into place. I told myself it was harmless. I needed the money. I wanted to feel wanted. The restaurant was one I'd only read about in columnists' feeds. Chandeliers, linen that smelled of strangers' wealth. Victor stood as I entered with a movement so practiced it could have been choreographed. He kissed my hand with an old-fashioned courtesy and ordered a bottle I couldn't have named. He listened. He spoke about art, the way other people spoke about weather, with certainty and an impatience that made him sound important. When I fumbled a joke about my student loans, he reached across and set a thin envelope between us. "For a month's rent," he said. "Come to the gallery Saturday. There's something you should see." The envelope had more money than I'd seen in the past 3 months. It felt like oxygen. Victor didn't pressure me for anything sexual. He called himself a patron. He invited me to his townhouse in Paddington, which smelled of old paper and citrus. He taught me how to taste wine as if I'd been born with the wrong tongue, took me to auction previews, and kept me in a net of compliments so fine I hardly noticed when they tightened. "Have you ever wanted to be preserved?" he asked once, idly, while I leaned over his library's balcony. The city below spread like a map. "I don't know what you mean," I said. "To hold something in the moment," he said, almost smiling. "To keep it from decay. There are graceful ways to keep beauty untouched." His words made me laugh in a way that was too small. There was a coldness there, a habit of looking at people as objects to be curated. Still, I stayed because it was easier than leaving. Over the weeks, I watched him move through the city like someone with keys to rooms no one else knew. He introduced me to younger women who hung on his sentences with hungry politeness. Once I saw one of them, Maya, standing by a sculpture in an off-site exhibition, her hands trembling around a glass of water. She was 19 and looked like she'd swallowed a storm. After that, I sated on Maya. I told myself I was protective. I told myself I was jealous. Victor only smiled when I mentioned her. "She's fragile," he said. "She needs someone careful." One evening, he invited me to a small gathering at the townhouse. Zoe had gone out of town, and I almost declined. But the money, the easy warmth of being chosen, won. The other guest was Maya. She smiled at me with lips that didn't reach her eyes. The party was quiet, the three of us sliding between conversation that was polite and pitched. Victor suggested a tour of his private rooms, a part of the house he kept locked for collectors. The basement, he called it, where old things were kept in air that smelled like cedar and winter. When we reached the door, the mood changed. The light was flat. Maya was pale, and for the first time, I noticed that she flinched at his touch. "I want to show you what preservation looks like," Victor said, gentle as a teacher. "You'll understand." I blinked, confused, and then he stabbed Maya. Her scream was muffled as his hand clamped over her mouth. Blood sprayed against the polished floor. My body froze, my lungs locked. When she didn't stir, panic carved a tunnel through me. Victor's face went unreadable. He said quietly that accidents happened and that we needed to handle it so the police didn't turn the house inside out for months. He spoke as if he were arranging flowers. I wanted to run, to scream, but my legs betrayed me. Instead, I helped. I don't remember why. Maybe fear, maybe shock, maybe his control over me was stronger than I ever admitted. I helped him drag Eva body, helped clean the blood. Afterwards, Victor poured me wine and sat across the table with an expression like a verdict. "You understand why I do this?" he asked. "To keep things pristine, to free them from vulgar endings." 2 nights later, the police came. Someone in the building had heard screaming, or maybe seen us with a door shut too tightly. I never learned who. I remember the bright uniforms, the questions, my voice quavering when they asked where I'd been that night. Victor spoke smoothly, with names and alibis and the practiced ease of a man who had rehearsed an explanation. He looked at me once in court, a small, almost tender glance, and it felt like being felt. Newspapers made a monument of the story. Victor Hawthorne, collector, charged with manslaughter. Maya, the missing student. They called me a companion to a suspect, a witness, a person who might have more to say. The cameras looked through me as if I were glass to be tested. At the trial, I learned to speak in short sentences. At night, I learned to listen for my own footfalls in the apartment, to catalogue the times I had been led and the times I had consented. Victor's lawyers painted him as eccentric, a man fascinated by mortality. His eyes, when he glanced at me across the courtroom, said something different: ownership, amusement, and an inch of threat. After the verdict, after the press left, and the house was sealed for evidence, I found myself sitting on the curb outside the building, watching strangers pass. Everyone assumed I was damaged in ways I could not fully explain. Sometimes I think I was. Sometimes I think I was merely tired. Sometimes I still open the message that started it, the casual, elegant request to meet, and the words look like an invitation written in a language I did not understand. "Would you allow me to show you dinner?" they say, and I try to tell myself the truth, that I'd been hungry for much longer than one night could fix, and that hunger makes people do things they don't recognize later. I don't know if I was his victim or his accomplice. I only know what the nights taught me, how easily terror could be folded into civility, how a polished hand can press the sharpest things into your palm while you count your blessings. The choice, in the end, felt like a paper I'd signed without opening. And in quieter moments, when rain makes the pavement shine like a gallery floor, I still feel the memory of his voice telling me why he believed he was right, and the small, unbearable twist when someone you let look after you decides you are an object he will keep, whether you agree or not. I was 17 when I lived through the worst night of my life. My name is Maya, and I grew up in Savannah, Georgia, a place where the air always smells like salt and rain, and the houses are too old to keep secrets. That summer, I was babysitting for the Vaughns, a new family who had just moved into the neighborhood. Their house sat at the edge of the marsh, half sunken into moss and fog, the kind of place where even the crickets sounded muffled. Their daughter, Leela, was 6, small, quiet, and pale, with long black hair and the habit of staring too long at things that weren't there. Her parents were polite, formal people. Mr. Vaughn taught literature at the local college, and Mrs. Vaughn worked in real estate. They were always exhausted, but kind. They paid well and never came home late. That night, they were attending a work dinner across town and said I'd be back by midnight. I arrived at 6:00 sharp. Mrs. Vaughn gave me the usual rundown. Dinner's ready on the counter. Lila can watch one movie. Bed by 8:30. She mentioned the baby monitor and told me, almost offhandedly, "Don't go into the upstairs room. It's being renovated." She smiled after saying it, but something in that smile felt rehearsed. Everything started out normal. Leela ate her spaghetti in silence, humming softly under her breath between bites.
Leela, are you
When I
okay?
asked what she was singing, she said,
Please answer me.
"It's the song the lady upstairs taught me." I laughed. "You mean your
Come on,
mom?"
Leela. Why won't you play?
She shook her head. "No,
Look at
the other
shadows.
one.
Don't let it know you can.
I thought it was just kid stuff." We watched a cartoon after dinner, and by 8:15, I was tucking her into bed. Her room had old wooden floors that creaked no matter how softly you walked. Above her bed, A pink nightlight, shaped like a rabbit, cast an eerie glow on the ceiling. She clutched her doll, a cloth thing with button eyes and tangled yarn hair, and whispered, "Good night, Miss Maya. Don't listen if she calls you." I asked, "Who?" "The lady upstairs," she said, and rolled over. By 9:0, the house was dead quiet. I was curled up on the couch, scrolling through my phone when I heard it. A faint, sharp tap, then another. It came from upstairs. I muted my phone and listened. A third tap, slower this time, followed by the groan of an old floorboard. At first, I thought it was the wind or an animal. The Vaughn's place was surrounded by trees, after all. But the sound wasn't random. It was rhythmic. Deliberate. I grabbed the flashlight from my bag and started up the stairs, my pulse pounding. The light flickered as I reached the second floor. The renovation room was at the end of the hall. The door was half open. I could see just enough through the crack to notice a long piece of red thread trailing out of the room, stretched tight, like it had been pulled across the floor and into the dark. Every nerve in my body screamed to turn around, but I stepped forward anyway. When I nudged the door open with my foot, the smell hit me first, sweet and foul, like rotting flowers. The flashlight beam swept across the floor. There were dolls everywhere. Dozens of them. Some plastic, some handmade, some missing eyes or limbs. All propped up against the wall like an audience. In the center of the room sat a half-finished doll the size of a child, its skin made of stitched-together fabric scraps, and something else. Something that didn't look like fabric at all. Its face wasn't sewn on yet, just a blank oval of flesh-colored material with holes where eyes should have been. The red thread I'd seen outside was still attached to it, looped through a needle sticking from its shoulder. My flashlight flickered again, and then the baby monitor in my pocket hissed to life. Through the static, a voice whispered, "Come upstairs, Maya." I froze. I hadn't turned the monitor on. Then, faintly, the sound of humming. A lullaby. The same tune Lila had been singing earlier. My heart stopped. I ran back to Lila's room. The monitor still crackled in my hand. I burst through the door, and she wasn't in bed. The sheets were rumpled. The doll was on the floor, and the window was wide open, the curtains blowing inward. "Lila!" I hissed. Nothing. Then from the hallway, footsteps. Slow, dragging, coming closer. I locked the door, shoved a chair under the handle, and called 911. My hands were shaking so violently I dropped the phone twice. The operator told me to stay quiet and not hang up. Outside the door, the footsteps stopped. Then, scratch, scratch, something ran along the wood. Like fingernails. The knob twisted slowly, once, twice, then stopped. "Lila," I whispered. Something giggled, but it wasn't Lila's voice. The laughter was higher, raspier, almost wet. Then the whisper came again, from the other side of the door. "She likes you, Maya. She says you can stay too." The chair jerked forward. I screamed and clutched the phone to my ear. The dispatcher's voice was tinny and distant. Officers are 3 minutes away. Stay calm. The door shook again, harder. A thud, then silence. Then I heard it, the creak of the attic hatch opening above me. I looked up just as dust rained down from the ceiling. A square of blackness yawned open, and something pale and thin began to descend. I backed into the corner, clutching the phone. The light from the rabbit nightlight flickered wildly, strobing the room. And then I saw her. A woman, if you could still call her that, crawled down from the attic. Her limbs were too long, her face a patchwork of mismatched skin, stitches like red veins across her cheeks. Her mouth was a jagged seam pulled into a grin. In one hand, she held a needle longer than my arm. "Leela," she crooned, "come finish your sister." My scream must have rattled the windows. The next thing I remember is the front door crashing open and flashlights flooding the hallway. The creature, or whatever it was gone. They found me curled in the corner clutching Lila's doll. The police searched the house. Lila was found outside, barefoot in the marsh, shivering and covered in mud. She kept whispering. She didn't like my stitches. In the upstairs room, the officers found the half-finished doll, but it wasn't there anymore when forensics came back the next morning. Only a pile of red thread and a blood-stained needle remained. The Vaughns moved away 2 weeks later. No one ever bought that house again. I never babysat again either. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear that lullaby in my head. And every so often when I check my reflection in the mirror, I swear there's a faint red line running along my jaw, like someone started stitching. A deserted country road winds through dense fog. Tall trees loom overhead. A single car headlights cut through the darkness. Inside the car, Jason Harper driving and Emily Harper sitting in the passenger seat. "Jason, are you sure this is the right place?" The realtor said it's just down this road. The house is supposed to be abandoned for years, perfect for renovations. The car rounds a bend and suddenly the silhouette of an old decaying mansion emerges from the fog. Its windows are dark, some broken vines crawling up the walls. Jason parks the car. They get out. The wind picks up, carrying a faint, whispering voice. Emily shivers. The front door groans as Jason pushes it open. The air inside is cold, stale, and smells faintly of decay. They walk in. Their footsteps echo in the empty halls. Dust swirls around them in the moonlight. A grand staircase leads up to the second floor, its banister warped and rotting. Suddenly, a faint child's laugh echoes from upstairs. Emily freezes. Did you hear that? Emily Enchka Ging. Probably a raccoon or something. They continue, exploring. In the dining room, a long table is covered in cobwebs. Chairs are overturned. A silver candelabra lies on the floor, dented. Jason picks it up and shakes it gently. Then the candelabra flies from his hands across the room, smashing into the wall. Jason and Emily stumble back, horrified. A loud creaking sound comes from the staircase. Both look up. A dark shadow moves across the top landing. It disappears. Emily gasps. "Don't." Emily unwraps a blanket, trying to warm herself. A sudden knock comes from the window. Both freeze. Who's there? Who's there? Emily startled. Jason slowly approaches the window. Nothing is outside. He sighs in relief. The knock comes again, louder this time. A faint, distorted child's voice whispers, "Go away." Emily clutches Jason's arm. The temperature in the room drops dramatically. Their breath becomes visible. Suddenly, the lights from their flashlights flicker. Shadows stretch unnaturally along the walls. A cold, unseen hand brushes Emily's shoulder. She screams. Jason grabs a nearby chair, swinging it wildly, but hits nothing. The room is empty, yet the presence is undeniable. A low, guttural whisper fills the room. "You shouldn't have come." Jason and Emily huddle together, terrified as the first real night of horror begins in Willow Creek. Jason and Emily are huddled on the floor, clutching each other. The cold in the room is unbearable. Their breaths come in short gasps. Shadows twist unnaturally across the walls. Jason grabs his phone, trying to call for help. No signal. He tries again. Still nothing. A soft, dragging sound comes from the hallway outside the room. Something is moving. A door at the end of the hallway creaks open slowly on its own. Emily hides her face in Jason's chest. The room grows darker, as if a shadow is spreading. A low, almost human-like moan echoes from the corridor. "I want to leave. I want to go home," Emily crying softly. Jason slowly stands, trying to look brave. He grabs a candle from a dresser and lights it. The flame flickers violently, then steadies. He steps into the hallway. The floorboards groan under his weight. Cold wind brushes past him. He shines the candle down the hall. A small, pale hand suddenly reaches out from under the staircase, grabbing at him. Jason stumbles back, screaming. "Jason!" Emily screaming. The hand disappears as quickly as it appeared. Silence falls. But now, faint whispers are all around them, echoing from the walls and ceiling. Whispers overlapping. "Leave. Now. Go." The next morning, the rain has stopped, leaving a damp, foggy landscape outside. Jason and Emily are examining the house by daylight, the horrors of the night before fresh in their minds. They find a small library, dusty and full of cobwebs. Emily opens a large book, flipping through pages of old newspaper clippings. "Jason, look at this." Clippings show a series of mysterious deaths and disappearances in the mansion, all involving children. One article catches their attention. A woman named Madeline Thorne was accused of witchcraft and killed on the property in the 1800s. A sudden loud bang upstairs makes them both jump. A chair slides across the floor on its own. The air grows icy again. Jason grabs Emily's hand. "We need help. Someone who understands this." Jason finds an old working landline in the study room. He dials frantically. The line clicks. Then a calm, confident voice answers. "This is Dr. Marcus Vale. How may I help you?" "My name is Jason Harper. We moved into a mansion in Willow Creek. Something's wrong. There's a spirit here. It attacked us last night." Take a deep breath. Describe the events from the beginning. Jason recounts everything. The whispers, the shadows, the hand under the stairs, the dragging sounds, and the chilling presence. Emily adds the newspaper clippings about Madeline Thorne. Jason hangs up, glancing at Emily. both knowing that tonight will be even worse than before. The rain has returned, light at first, then heavier. Fog swirls across the lawn. Jason and Emily stand at the edge of the driveway, nervously awaiting Dr. Marcus Vale and his team. A sleek black SUV appears through the mist. 3 figures step out. Dr. Marcus Vale, a calm, experienced paranormal investigator. Sister Helena, a medium with deep spiritual insight. And Liam, a tech specialist with a knack for detecting anomalies. Are you ready? Once we enter, there's no turning back until we've dealt with her. I don't know if I can. Emily trembling. They all enter the mansion. The doors creak ominously, echoing through the dark hallways. The team sets up equipment, EVP recorders, EMF detectors, cameras, and candles. Dr. Vale explains the plan. Madeline Thorne is strong. She feeds off fear. She reacts to sudden movements, loud sounds, and non-vegetarian food. Her anger stems from betrayal and her violent death. Tonight, we'll attempt to communicate, then bind her spirit. Jason and Emily sit in the corner, holding each other. A faint whisper floats through the room, too soft to catch clearly. A sudden slamming sound upstairs causes Liam to drop his camera. Dr. Vale moves toward the staircase. He ascends, candle in hand. The shadows seem to stretch along the walls, forming twisted shapes. A chilling, high-pitched laugh echoes down the staircase. Dr. Vale carefully approaches a closed door at the end of the hallway. The temperature drops sharply. His breath becomes visible. Madeline Thorne, we are here to help you move on. The door slams open violently on its own. A shadowy figure appears. A pale woman in a tattered dress, her eyes black voids. Long black hair obscures most of her face. She floats a few inches above the floor, moving unnaturally. Madeline Thorne, your anger belongs to the past. You will not harm them. The ghost screams, a high-pitched wail that shakes the walls. Furniture slides across the floor. Candles extinguish themselves one by one. Liam shouts, trying to record everything. Sister Helena steps forward, holding a small pendant glowing faintly. By the light of the old, by the power of the unseen, I call you to listen. The ghost pauses, tilts her head. A whisper emerges, almost human. Why did they betray me? Ghost whispering. Suddenly, a loud crash is heard from downstairs. Jason and Emily run toward the sound. They see furniture thrown across the room. A shadow moves across the ceiling, then lands in front of them. It's Madeline Thorne, Emily screaming. The ghost lunges at Jason. He is thrown across the room. Emily tries to grab him, but the ghost grabs her too. Both are lifted off the ground by an invisible force. Dr. Vale runs to the center of the room, holding a small silver cross and chanting an incantation. The ghost lets out a chilling scream. Leave or die, ghost screaming. Jason manages to grab a piece of broken furniture, swinging it at the ghost. It passes through her like smoke, but slows her down. Dr. Val's shouting grows louder. Sister Helena joins in, the pendant glowing brighter. The ghost starts to dissipate slowly, her wail fading. The air warms. The objects stop moving. Jason and Emily collapsed to the floor, exhausted but alive. Dr. Vale serious to Emily and Jason. This is only the beginning. Spirits like Madeline Thorne, they are powerful. But tonight, she has been weakened. The camera lingers on the shadowy corners of the room, hinting that she may not be gone entirely. Jason and Emily sit as Sister Helena performs a vision ritual. Candles circle them. Incense smoke curls around their faces. Suddenly, the room shifts. The walls seem to bleed. Her fury is born of betrayal, starvation, and murder. They left me. They left me. Ghost whispering. Objects fly. Lights flicker, shadows dart across hallways. Jason and Emily are trapped in a room, terrified. She's feeding off your fear. Stay calm. Dr. Vale shouting. Jason sees ghostly children in the corner, echoes of Madeline's lost family. One reaches toward him, whispering, "Join us." He panics. But Sister Helena intervenes with her pendant, driving the spirits back. Dr. Vale and Sister Helena lure Madeline into the attic. Candles, protective symbols, and chanting surround her. "You can't take me!" Ghost, screaming. Emily, summoned by Sister Helena, repeats her mother's name to calm Madeline, connecting to the part of her soul still human. "Madeline, it's time to rest. You don't have to hurt anymore." The ghost shrieks, convulses, then suddenly falls silent, hovering briefly before dissipating into mist. The attic is still. The storm outside breaks into light rain. The mansion is quiet. Broken furniture remains, but the oppressive darkness is gone. Jason and Emily sit, exhausted but alive. It's over. She's gone. For now. Spirits like her leave traces. Respect the house. Don't return alone. Sister Helena. Madeline Thorne's story is a warning. Not all spirits want revenge. Some just want closure. The team leaves, the mansion looming quietly in the early morning fog. The camera lingers on a corner of the attic. Faint black smoke curls, hinting she may not be completely gone. Jason and Emily walk away, holding hands. Birds chirp. Life seems to return to normal, but a faint wind carries a whisper. "I'll be waiting," ghost whispering. Cut to black. The credits roll, leaving a lingering sense of unease. It was already 10 o'clock at night. Nurse Mira was making her rounds in the old psychiatric hospital. This was her first night shift in this eerie building. While walking down the dimly lit corridor, she reached room number 13. Mira slowly placed her hand on the rusty doorknob. Inside lay a 22-year-old woman. A pale but strikingly beautiful girl sat on the bed, facing the cracked wall. Her lips moved slowly, whispering words no one could understand. The strange stillness inside the room made Mira's chest tighten. Her legs hesitated at the threshold, as if something unseen was pulling her back. She had heard stories of unusual patients here, some violent, some completely lost in their own worlds. But this was different. It was her first night here. The ticking of the old wall clock and the sound of the wind scraping against the window frames made the corridor feel even colder. Mira gripped her flashlight, wondering if she should step in. Gathering a bit of courage, Mira finally pushed the door open wider. The moment she stepped inside, the girl suddenly let out a chilling laugh and began twisting her body in unnatural ways. She was still facing the wall, but her neck turned all the way around to look at Mira. Cold sweat dripped from Mira's forehead. Her hands trembled as she backed away. Slamming the door shut, she ran down the corridor to the reception, calling for another nurse. Nurse Lena was at the desk, speaking on the phone. Yes, madam. Don't worry. She's safe. We're taking good care of her, Lena assured someone before hanging up. Seeing Mira's pale face, Lena frowned. What happened, Mira? Why do you look so terrified? Mira stammered and recounted everything she had just seen. Lena nodded slowly. Oh, room number 13. That's Aisha. Her mother calls every night, sometimes every few minutes, to ask about her. They admitted her here 2 months ago and never came back. Mira's curiosity burned through her fear. What happened to her? How did she end up like this? Lena sighed and began to explain. Aisha was 22, a top student in her final year of architecture. Everyone admired her beauty and intelligence. But she lived in a dream world of her own making. She believed she would meet a mysterious artist, her soulmate, and rejected every suitor her parents brought home. She wrote about him in her journal every night, filling page with fantasies. Her parents thought it was harmless. Lena continued. One night, Aisha left her journal at the university library. A young man named Arav, one of her new classmates, found it and took it. He read every page, learning all her secrets and fantasies. The next day, he came to class wearing exactly the clothes she had described for her dream man. Aisha was drawn to him instantly. She forgot about the missing journal, believing she had finally met the man. Their relationship turned intense, even obsessive. Arav isolated her from her friends, especially from Rohan, her best friend who had loved her in silence. He began writing her name in blood, sending letters smeared with it, whispering strange things about destiny. Aisha became frightened, but she couldn't escape. One evening, when she visited Arav's apartment, she found her missing journal there, along with photos of several women. As she stared in shock, a middle-aged man entered the room. Don't be afraid. I'm Prakash, Arav's uncle. He's been unwell since his parents died. He collects things he finds beautiful. People, objects, anything. He doesn't understand emotions. If something he treasures breaks or disappoints him, he destroys it. Aisha is shocked to hear that he's battling illness. She goes over and asks, "What did you say, mentally ill?" Arav's uncle says yes. Aisha's heart stopped when she saw one of the photos, her own face pinned on the wall among other girls. The truth hit her. She ran out, shaking, and locked herself in her room for days, ignoring Arav's endless calls. Hearing this, Aisha was completely shaken to the core. Showing the photos lying in the drawer to her uncle, she asks, "Whose photos are these?" Uncle says, "These are pictures of Arav's first girlfriend. I've met all of them. I've only met her once. Every time I'd see a new girl with him. I don't know what happened to her. I never asked his anything because the doctor had told me not to talk to Arav about anything that might anger him. Otherwise, he might do anything in a fit of rage." Aisha was looking at those photos. Although all of them had one thing in common. All the girls in those pictures were extremely beautiful. There was another photo on that door. picked up the photo with her trembling hands and began to look at it. Aisha's eyes widened in surprise at the sight of that photo. The photo wasn't anyone else's, but it was her own. Seeing her photo on that door, Aisha felt goosebumps all over her body. Slowly, Aisha began to understand everything. Aisha couldn't bear it anymore. She ran home and closed the door of her room and sat in a corner. She wanted to scream loudly, but no sound came from her mouth. I couldn't get out. She was just standing there when her phone started ringing. It was Arav calling. 101 rings. Even after Aisha didn't pick up the phone, she no longer had the courage to talk to him. Many days passed. Aisha didn't go to college. She didn't meet anyone, nor did she talk to anyone. She just closed the door to her room. She sat alone, staring at her diary. Today, for the first time, she started hating her diary. A week later, the newspaper carried a grim headline. Young man jumps from building after girl rejects him. Arav's photograph stared back at her from the front page. From that day on, Aisha stopped speaking. She sat in her room for hours, whispering to the walls, sometimes laughing, sometimes crying. Mira shivered as Lena's story ended. The flickering hospital lights dimmed and then went out completely. The corridor fell into darkness. Mira fumbled for her phone. "Lena, are you here?" she whispered. But there was no answer. On the desk lay a hastily scribbled note. "Emergency call. Had to leave. Back in an hour." Mira's heart thudded in her chest. She turned slowly and saw a shadow moving in the corner of the corridor. A tall figure stepped out, smiling crookedly, his eyes glinting like cold steel. "You're beautiful too," he whispered. "Beautiful things belong only to me." He began to laugh, low at first, then louder and louder, echoing down the hallway. Mira froze where she stood. There was a huge difference between the world of dreams and the world of reality. Sometimes that difference can kill.